Hello, my name is Madam Jennifer from Educare TZ. Welcome, my lovely Form 4 students in our biology session. And in our today's session, we are proceeding with the solving of the series of the Necta question for biology paper 1. And in our today's session, we are going to solve the biology paper 1 for the year 2016. Now, welcome. Today's question is question number 12 for the year 2016, and our question states that explain how mammals regulate their internal body temperature in response to external environmental changes. Explain how mammals regulate their internal body temperature in response to external environmental changes. My lovely Form 4 students, before we answer our question, now you have to be familiar with where this question has been constructed. This question has been constructed from the topic of the regulation, and it is a Form 3 topic in that concept of the thermoregulation, where we have seen that there are almost three types of the regulation. There's thermoregulation, osmoregulation, and the regulation of the blood pressure. So within the concept, one of the types of the regulation, which is thermoregulation, is where this question has been derived in. When we talk on the thermoregulation, this means the ability to regulate the change in the temperature. The term also identify the thermal come from the term temperature. So this is concerned with the regulation of the amount of the temperature. In regulating of the amount of the temperature as one of the external factors which influence the different metabolic activity into the body of an organism, we know that the body of living organism, especially mammals, are made up of enzymes. So the enzyme control the activity needed to work under optimal temperature. The excess or the excess of the temperature, or the excess of temperature, can result either to the denaturation of the enzymes, or the lower amount of the temperature might result to the inactivation of the enzymes. So the temperature needed to be kept at optimal range to ensure that the activity or different enzymatic activity take place at optimal range within the body of a human being or in the body of any mammals. So within this concept, we get that there are two types of organisms which tend to regulate their body temperature. And here we go, there is this homothems pamoja na poicothems. When you take on the homothems, these are the organism which tends to regulate their internal body temperature despite of the fluctuation of the external environment. Example of this organism, there is mammals and birds. Mammals and birds, these are the organisms which are capable of regulating their internal or maintaining their internal body temperature at constant level despite of varying or by the variation of those external temperature. While the poicothems, these are the organisms which their body temperature tend to fluctuate with that of the external temperature. Example, there is reptile as well as amphibians. So this organism, their metabolic activity depend on external temperature, and that's why we call them ectotherm. While for those hemothems, some mammals and birds, they tend to reproduce their metabolic metabolic energy internally, and that's why we call them endotherm. So that is just a short description. So when we talk on the mammals, we say that all mammals. Some mammals, this belong to those organisms which are capable to regulate their internal body temperature at constant level despite of the variation of the external temperature. So in other term, we can call them endotherms. So whenever you see the hemotherms, so endotherms, don't get confused. Here we talk all about the mammals and beasts, which are the organisms which are capable of regulating their internal body temperature at constant level, so to ensure that different metabolic activity, enzymatic activity takes place at a constant level, so to ensure in different biological or endocrine and nervous system work at optimal range. So let's welcome to see on how this question can be answered. But before, I just like to give that short description so as to know that's what we are dealing with. So this question, as I've already said, it is constructed from the concept of the thermoregulation within that topic of the regulation. When talk on the thermoregulation, this is the ability of the organism to maintain the relatively constant body temperature regardless of the change of the external temperature. So that's the ability of an organism to maintain to maintain relatively constant body temperature regardless of the change of external temperature is what is known as a regulation or thermoregulation. The thermoregulation system regulates the temperature of the body in response to change in the external temperature. So, animals that maintain a stable body temperature regardless of fluctuation in the environmental temperature are called homotherms. And the heat is being generated internally by metabolic activity, and hence by metabolic activity they are called endotherms. And mammals and bees are example of homotherms animals. So our question has been derived here. So homotherms is where our question has been derived here. So in order to answer this question, you just needed to go directly to the temperature regulation by homotherms by both katika high temperature and cold temperature to ensure that they contain the internal or the amount of the internal body temperature remain at the constant level. Now, the temperature regulation in mammals. In order to keep their body temperature more or less constant, mammals must have mechanism and structure to detect temperature changes. So these mammals, where I see these are the example of homotherms, organisms which are capable of regulating their internal body temperature despite of fluctuation of external temperature. So they have the mechanism to ensure that they keep their body temperature despite of the increase or decrease in the external temperature. So they also have mechanism to restore the internal temperature to its normal level to ensure that the different metabolic activity to the body proceed as normal as usual. So the temperature change are detected by sensory cell located in the skin. We know that we have 5 sensory organs. In example, we have the air, we have the eyes, we have the nose, tongue, as well as the skin. Skin is one of the sensory organ which is responsible for detection of the stimulus of the heat, cold, as well as the pain. So this temperature change is being detected by the skin as one of the sensory receptor, where this detection of these stimulus are converted into the nerve impulses to be transmitted to the central nervous system. This is the brain for the interpretation, and therefore in that center of the hypothalamus is where this temperature can be interpreted. So after the interpretation, the hypothalamus tend to induce this pituitary glands so as to provide the mechanism for the regulation of this bodily temperature. But mostly the temperature regulation in this is a nervous coordinated mechanism. That it does not involve this hormone. It's mostly within the hypothalamus and hypothalamus. This is responsible for the coordination of the nervous system, and body temperature is one of them. So the thermoregulation center interprets these changes and set off series of body reaction which may either lead to increase or decrease in the temperature. So after the detection of the stimulus of the either cold or heat, the thermoregulatory center ambao hapo tunasema ni brain, after the interpretation it will give a feedback or response to this effector's organ to take a particular response pertaining the detected or received stimulus from the sensory organ or sensory neuron. So when the temperature of the surrounding environment is lower than the body temperature, animals lose heat to the surrounding. Kwa pale ambapo temperature ya surrounding environment, in case kama temperature ya surrounding environment ikiwa ni ndogo kuliko ile ya ndani, the body of organism for those some they tend to inaonekana kwamba the temperature inaweza ikafall, lakini for these homotherms they tend to have mechanism to ensure kwamba ile internal temperature ina be restored or it has been maintained normal as usual. Tunajua kwamba the internal body temperature gani degree anzia 36 mpaka 37 degrees Celsius. Yes. So heat is lost from the body surface through the radiation, evaporation na pamoja na conduction. So let us now consider the temperature regulation by mammals at low temperature. How mammals tend to regulate their internal temperature at constant level when the environmental temperature becomes low. So the first one is by increasing metabolic rate. Increasing the metabolic rate. How metabolic rate is being increased? So the body initiates the chemical reaction that change carbohydrates and fat into the energy. When the external temperature become lower, there's increase in this metabolic rate. Example, the process of breaking down of the carbohydrate and fat through the respiration process tend to increase. The process of heat rate tend to increase, so as to ensure kwamba a large amount of heat is being produced, to ensure a large amount of energy is being produced, which raises up the body temperature. So vile vile, the energy is being used by the body to perform variety activity, and some energy is released in form of heat, and the heat increase the body temperature. So during these different chemical processes or chemical reaction like respiration, the energy which is being released in form of ATP are used by the body to perform a variety of activity. Lakini at the same time, energy also released in form of heat tend to increase the body temperature when the external temperature becomes low. Vile vile, the metabolism is mostly carried out by the liver and skeletal muscle. This metabolism tunajua kwamba this is a process of breaking down food substance. So this metabolism they take place sana katika fats, katika liver, ambapo within the liver kuna kuwepo na ile fats. So fats zenyewe zina be breaking down kwenda produce that glucose, na during this process energy na be released. Vile vile katika this skeletal muscle where this glycogen has been stored, or this glucose, na vile vile inakuwa ina increase that amount. Kwa mfano that skeleton kuna kuwepo na ile muscular contraction ambayo inapelekea kuongezeka kwa joto. Another, the increased activities of adrenal, thyroid and pituitary gland result in the secretion of hormone. This hormone increase the body metabolic rate. Tunaona kwa vile vile hormone pia, hormones kwa mfano kama adrenal, pituitary, na zenyewe zinabe responsible katika maintenance of the internal temperature, increase of the temperature katika body condition, katika kuweza kuongeza this metabolic heat. Vile vile, additional heat produced in the body has the result of increasing metabolic rates, raises body temperature to the required level. So, increase the metabolic rate require increased food consumption. The metabolic rate inapokuwa inaongezeka ina require the kiasi kubwa sana cha food consumption. Hii hapa kuweza kuensure kwamba kiasi kubwa sana cha energy kina be produced. Vile vile, this is reason why animals in cold climate require large amount of food compared to those in hot. Ni hapa ndio sababu kwa nini wale watu ambao wanaishi maeneo ambayo kuna kuwepo na baridi sana wanakuwa wanakula sana compare na wale ambao wanaishi maeneo ya joto. This is because of the need of the production of this amount of energy kwa ajili ya kuweza keep their body temperature at constant level. And another mechanism ambapo on how this mammal tend to regulate their body temperature katika cold condition ni shivering. Shivering ni kutetemeka. So this is one of the rhythmic contraction of the body ambao as one of the response katika kuweza kuregulate their body temperature. Kwa unaweza kujiuliza kwa nini wakati wa baridi tunakuta wengine wamejikunyata, wengine wanatetemeka. This one of the mechanism kuensure kwamba the internal body temperature is being maintained katika constant level for performance of variety of activity into the body. So shivering is the body response to cold environmental condition. So in cold condition, the skeletal muscle undergo rhythmic involuntary contraction, which increases the amount of heat produced in the body. Another mechanism is vasoconstriction. Vasoconstriction, this is a process where these blood vessels tend to contract. They tend to flow deeper under the skin to ensure that the heat is conserved. So vasoconstriction nasema kwamba when animal is subjected to cold condition, the superficial arteries are constricted. So katika cold condition au katika wakati wa baridi kunakuwa na vasoconstriction of this blood vessel. So this superficial artery tend to be constricted. Kwa hivyo unapokuwa na constrict ile amount of that rate of the blood flow inakuwa reduced. So this process is called vasoconstriction. When vasoconstriction occur, blood flow is slowed down to reduce the heat loss through the skin. Kwa kuna kuwepo na decrease in the amount of the blood flowing, or that rate of the blood flowing in the skin inakuwa ina decrease as one of mechanism of conserving the heat. Vile vile, most of blood passes below the insulating layer of subcutaneous fat, and therefore little heat is lost in the environment. So most of the blood they tend to pass below the insulating layer katika subcutaneous fat. Na so kwamba this subcutaneous fat they tend to form within the skin. Katika structure ya skin tumeweza kuidiscuss in details katika topic yetu ya coordination katika sensory organ katika mammalian skin. So Therefore, little heat is lost in the environment, because through this vasoconstriction, the amount of heat is being conserved into the body. Also, other means of increasing body temperature is through the hair erection. Vile vile mammals wanakuwa wana erect. Unaweza kujiuliza kwamba kwa nini wakati wa baridi unakuta kwenye ngozi unakuta kama kuna upele umekuwa umetokea. Ile pale ni hair erection as mechanism of conserving the heat. So those hairs vile vinyeleo vile vinakuwa zinatengeneza kama vile vipilepele as one of mechanism of conserving the heat. Hiyo tunaita ni hair erection. So kuna kuwepo na hair erection. In hairy homothems the hair stand erect in the hair erection. Vile vile in this way the fur act as insulator by preventing the hair loss by conversion in a radiation. Now that was all about on how mammals tend to regulate their body temperature in the cold condition. Now let us see on how mammals tend to respond or to control their internal body temperature at constant level when the surrounding environment become hot. So the temperature regulation of mammals at high temperature. When the body temperature rises, the temperature of the blood also rises. The blood flowing to the brain stimulates the thermoregulatory center. This center triggers the following action. Kwa pale ambapo kuna kuwepo na the surrounding temperature ikiwa ni kubwa, meaning that the body temperature yenyewe itakuwa ni kubwa. So on how this mammal they tend to regulate the internal body temperature katika hot condition au katika high temperature. The first one ni vasodilation. Tumeona kwamba katika cold temperature unakuwa na vasoconstriction, ambapo kunakuwa na contraction of these arteries, lakini katika high temperature unakuwa na vasodilation. Kwa hiyo kuna increase of that blood flow through the skin as a mechanism of cooling the body from the overheating. So ya kwanza ni vasodilation. This is widening of the superficial blood vessel near the body surface. So katika high temperature kunakuwa na widening of this superficial artery kuweza kuincrease the rate of the blood flow through the skin as a mechanism of cooling the body from overheating. So vasodilation occur when smooth muscle in blood vessels zinakuwa zime relax. Vile vile when the body temperature rises, the superficial arteries dilate in order to allow blood to flow close to the skin surface. Heat from blood is conducted through the lower epidermis to the skin surface where it is radiated away from the body. Another means is by sweating. Hapa ni kutokwa jasho. Unaona wakati sana wa joto watu wanakuwa kutoka sana jasho. So this is one of the mechanism of preventing the body from overheating. So sweating, human beings have ability to control body temperature through the sweating. This is because their body have larger sweat glands and found beneath the skin over the whole body, enabling them to be more efficient at cooling through sweating. So some animals with the furs have limited sweat glands which are confined to areas that do not have fur. Kwa this sweating sana tumeangalia kwa mfano kwa binadamu wanakuwa na sweat glands. This is one of the secretion glands. So this sweat gland they tend to produce sweat pale katika high temperature kwa ajili ya kuweza sweat is one of the nitrogenous waste. So that's be released as one of the mechanism of cooling the body. Vile vile kwa wale organism ambao wenyewe hawana this sweat gland wenyewe wanakuwepo na furs. So wenyewe wanakuwepo na this furs na zile kwa mfano kama cats pamoja na dogs wenyewe wanakuwepo na this sweat glands katika maeneo ambayo hayana manyoya. So and excess in the body of animal is detected by hypothalamus. Tunasema kwamba pale ambapo kunakuwa na high temperature katika body of an organism, is the coordination center and hypothalamus anaweza kudetect na kuweza kuprovide nervous coordination system kwa ajili ya kuweza kuensure kwamba internal body temperature is being maintained katika required level. So the hypothalamus send nerve impulses to the sweat gland under the skin. This is never coordinated response, ambapo hypothalamus after detection of the increase of the external temperature intend to send the impulses to this sweat gland kwa ajili which are found within the skin kwa ajili ya kuweza produce sweat for cooling the body. So the nerve impulses can cause the sweat gland to increase the production of the sweat. Evaporation of sweat take heat from the body surface of the skin, which in turn cools the body. So that's mark the end of our today's session, my lovely Form 4 students. I would like to welcome you for keep on following Educare Media for other coming session. Also, we are solving variety of the question in this session. Kuna physics, kuna chemistry for various level from form 1 to form 4. So keep on subscribing, keep on liking. Also, in case of any misconception, you are allowed to write in the comment section so that we can cross check and to see how we can help you, our lovely form 4 students. Also keep on invite your fellow colleagues so as you can study with them, na vile vile wasaidie. You know that the practice make perfect. Keep on solving different Necta question. Vile vile tunakaribisha uendelee kufuatilia Educare Media for further learning. Have a nice moment.